For as far back as we can go, as far back as God has allowed us to look in eternity past, there has been worship. As far as we know, as long as there has been any created being in heaven, there has been worship. Now, did you realize that in that mutiny in heaven, that rebellion led by the archangel Lucifer, that at the heart of that rebellion was worship? I mean, that was the issue. Lucifer, being an archangel, obviously had something to do with the worship of heaven. But he got to the point of he was tired of worshiping God. Pride entered his heart, and he thought he would be the one. He ought to be the one who would be worshiped. And so fully a third of the angelic host joined him in his rebellion, trying to unseat God from the throne so he himself could sit on the throne and let all the hosts of heaven worship him. The rebellion in heaven was fundamentally over worship. After Jesus was baptized by John in the river Jordan, he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And at the heart of, right at the core, at the heart of that temptation, here we find Satan still trying to get God to bow down to him. Of course, he knew that if the Lord were to have bent one knee to him in acknowledging him as being, in worship, you're acknowledging a superior being, then the battle would have been over. I mean, there would not have been no longer, he would have won that battle that to this day goes on in the heavenlies. Fundamentally, the battle that goes on in the heavenlies is over worship. Who is mankind going to bow before and worship? That is the issue. That's the issue that faces missionaries when they go to the far-flung fields of the earth. What are they going to worship? Because fundamentally, I don't understand all this, but fundamentally, inside of man, God has placed in the human nature of man a need and a desire to worship. Because you can go to the most primitive tribe, the most remote area on earth, and you're not going to have to teach people to worship. They're already worshiping some gods. Now, sometimes it's a multiplicity of gods, but they are already acknowledging a higher being, a supreme being. They're already worshiping. We are all worshipers. A friend of mine said to me, a pastor in Arkansas, a rather large church, he said, Ron, if I had more worshipers in the pew on Sunday morning, I'd have better worship. I said, well, Bill, your pews are full of worshipers. He said, no, they aren't. I said, yes, they are. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, they're all worshiping something. In fact, during professional football season, when the game comes on Sunday and the pastor goes past noon when the game begins and starts encroaching upon that which is most important to some of people in the church, you start seeing the restlessness. It's obvious, because that which is most important to them is not in church, is not God. They are wanting to get home so they can kneel before that which is most important to them on the Lord's Day. Am I right? Amen. All of your people are worshiping something or someone.